different perspective this time for us as trustees, so I get to see what you see on a regular basis, which is kind of nice. But with that, I'd like to call to order the August 25th, 2025 meeting of the SMTD District to order, please. Stephanie, can I start with the roll call?
Sure. Chairperson Brewer.
Here.
Trustee Doss.
Here.
Trustee Hasera. Here. Trustee McCarthy. Here. Trustee Dabsco. Here. Trustee Douglas. Here. Trustee Stratton.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. I was actually going to move the meeting outside with the nice weather, but you guys put so much work ahead that I couldn't do twice, so here we are. But a number of things to come before the Board of Trustees today, so let's go ahead and jump right into it, please, if we could. We have our regular meeting minutes from July 28th, 2025. Those were customarily, as always, in your board packets previously. Hopefully you had ample time to review them, but I will ask for any discussions regarding those or any modifications. If there isn't any, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 28, 2025.
Second.
We have a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Very good. We have approved for those meeting minutes. Thank you. Next item, we're going to jump into some communications reports from our directors today. First up, we'll go with our managing director, Steve.
Just a couple of things in the interest of brevity so that we can get to our presentation. We are working through some hiccups with the air conditioning system at the transfer center. Most of that has been worked out as of this weekend. So they were doing some insulation today, and everything should be set and everything working properly at this point. So we're good that that's happening. We have a few checklist items or punch list items that they still have to do working with the contractor on that, but things are moving along just fine. Our new bus stop at the IEPA facility at White Oaks Mall began last week with a new schedule. There were employees that we knew were walking from that facility all the way to the other corner of the mall parking lot where the bus stop was. So they should be happy to have one right outside the door now. And we're serving that facility like you would expect. We did have a change in security at the transfer center. If you didn't hear, we are not under contract with the county sheriff's department anymore. Due to some staffing issues they had. We're hoping that that'll come back when the transfer center is finished in a couple of years. We can work something out with the entire hub. But until then, we're working with off-duty law enforcement to cover some particularly busy times there. And that's worked out well so far for the last few weeks. So any updates on that, I will let you know, but that is ongoing and we do have security there. So. And then finally, the last thing I was reminded before the meeting that we have our Employee Appreciation Day, September 19th. It'll be in this room. They'll start around 9 o'clock in the morning. Some of the first shifts will start coming in for lunch and we'll go until about 2 o'clock. So we always welcome the board to attend and stop in and say hi, and see some of the employees. So that's all I've got.
And the food's good. Right?
Yeah. Well, you help cook, right?
Just saying. All right. Any follow-up to Steve's commentary today? I know there's a lot going on. Had a lot of nice award winners for Employee of the Month, things of that nature. And I saw Mateo had a nice award for his redesign on the colors and logo buses. So well done to the staff. A lot of great things going on.
Oh, one other thing I would like to add, I forgot. All the board members should have a copy of the new schedule book. Tyler put a lot of time in on that. It's been 3 or 4 years since we had a new one out. So it's overdue, but it looks really good. He made a lot of changes to it this time, added a lot of information, and it's up to date and should be helpful to all of our passengers.
Yes, very well done, Tyler. Anything else for Steve? If not, we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you as always, Steve. Let's move on to Finance and Administration. Michelle, any general comments today?
Yes, I have just a few. The SMTD received proposals. We put an RFP out for a website redesign. We have received proposals. The bid's been closed and they're under review right now, and it'll be presented to the board per the schedule. We did receive concurrence on the purchase of a support vehicle using Rebuild Illinois 1 funds. So we're in process of buying that. And overall in the finance department, we're working on final field work for the fiscal year 25 audit, as well as corrective actions for the turnaround review. That's my update for this evening.
Well, we know there's more going on than just that, but
Yes.
of course, as always. May I ask, how many respondents do we get for the website redesign?
Well, we haven't made that official, but we had a lot. I'll say that.
I was hoping, yes. Yeah, very good. Okay. Anything else from Michelle? No? Okay, if not, thank you as always. And we'll move along to operations. Melissa.
We are going to be sitting down next week and talking about some street closures with the rail upgrades that they're doing over on the north end. They're going to start seeing some closures around the 9th to 11th Street areas, Converse, North Grand. So we have some routes that we'll need to configure to ensure we still get transportation to the Land Fair is the one that's going to see a major hit that we have to try to do some rerouting for. We'll also be looking at evaluating how our installation of the TSI system is going, which is our audio video on the buses. We do have the live feed. We finally did get that set up and arranged, so live feed is working on our vehicles. We're working out bugs still on some of them, just regular installation hiccups, but it's going well.
That's what you expected?
Hiring, keeping routes moving, and that's what we do. I get the personnel stuff, so I don't have a whole lot of fun stuff to say sometimes.
All right, very good.
But nope, we're doing good.
Excellent. Okay. Questions or follow-up from Melissa on anything
I
operational?
have a question. Now, is that, like right now, all that going on out north, is that starting up the rail that's, that's a lot. It's like, because even getting here today was a zigzag. We kept going down.
Yeah, there's you've already started seeing some right there with on the 9th Street corridor there, but Converse is going to be the next. Michigan is currently closed. Right. It's behind the school. It runs along the tracks. Converse will be closed before North Grand, but they're saying hopefully Converse and North Grand aren't closed at the same time. So, keeping our fingers crossed, because that'd really be tough. But yeah, we got a schedule from them that we're going to try to do some detouring and route changes, so we can get some advance notice out to passengers and things like that. So it's going to definitely happen. Probably within the next couple weeks to 30 days, we're going to see some significant changes over there.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody's efforts and operations. Let's go ahead and jump into the report section of the meeting. First item up there is the June 2025 financial statements and cash disbursements. Those would have been in your packets as well for the trustees' review. I'll ask for any discussion or modifications there, if there are any. Hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
Move to approve the June 2025 financial statements and cash disbursements.
Second.
Okay, we have first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Very good. Approval. Move those forward. Thank you. A lot of committee activity the last few months, but we'll jump into some committee reports. First up, is there anything from the Finance Committee?
No report.
Okay, very good. How about the Operations Committee?
No, I do not have a report, but I just want to say I was excited about SMTD. It was like really popular at the Virginia Gap, at the JC Park. I mean, they was all running to that. So this great staff. It was a beautiful day. So yeah.
I heard it was a nice turnout. Mm-hmm. Very good. Great comment, Sandra. Thank you. How about Administration Committee? Anything there?
No.
Nothing there. Okay. IT steering? Anything?
We met on August 12th, I think. We talked about a variety of issues, security, servers, kind of a smattering of IT functions, but nothing specific to report now.
Okay, very good. Thanks for that update. We'll go ahead and move along to the Planning Commission report. See, Jason?
Yes. So just a couple updates on a couple plans that we're working on. The West Growth South Loop plan. We continue to work with Hanson and CMT on that. We've got the study area defined, and we're moving forward with that area that we have. It's including area. The old area was basically a large section that went from the north boundary of Sangamon County all the way to the south, going through Williamsville, Sherman, and then all the way down through Auburn and Thayer and those places. We realized that we didn't need to have a plan for that large of an area, so we kind of cut it off at the closer to the river so that we don't have to do any worrying about, the floodplain or anything. And then included parts of the I-55, I-72 corridors through there too, because they're important to that. So with that, like I said, we're moving forward. The other thing we're working on is a safety action plan. We've had the first meetings of our steering committee and for the stakeholder committees. It was really encouraging to see the breadth and the number of different groups who are representing themselves in this creation of this plan. So we look forward to that going.
Okay. Follow-up for Jason. If not, we appreciate the partnership, and we too will look forward to the output. ADA Advisory Committee, I didn't see anybody here today. There wasn't anything to pass along? Okay. All right, very good. All right, we'll move along to some new business. We got 4 items under new business to come to the board. First item there is our final report, our comprehensive operations plan. Without further ado, I know we've been excited for that as well, so we were going to go ahead and, Hadley, I don't know if you have some opening comments before the presentation, but.
If you've got it ready to go, Cole, I will let you know about it.
No problem. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you again. My name is Cole Pouliot. I was here about a little more than a year ago to talk about the kicking off of this project. You might have noticed there was a different project manager here, Chelsea Waterman, who in that time period has actually left AECOM. So I got the honor of working with y'all as project manager to see this project through, and it's been a lot of fun and great to do. So I was told that Steve told me to have a little more time than I thought to do this presentation, so I apologize now. You're going to get a lot of details thrown at you, but I hope it's exciting as I find it to be, because I think this is a very exciting project. So without further ado, just a quick recap of the project. So the west side of Springfield has been growing quite a bit, and you have the transfer point out there that's seeing a lot more traffic. And it was recognized that this was a great opportunity to put in a secondary transfer hub at this point to help people safely and quickly transfer between buses and just make it a much more attractive amenity to the residents in that area, and to make it much better for passengers to move along. So there was a plot of land that we weren't allowed to talk about a year ago that has moved forward, so we can talk about it. It's the plot you see right now between West Stamford Ave and North Street that's become available, and I know SMTD is I believe is in the final stages of purchasing. So this plot of land is actually much bigger than you would need for a transfer site. So part of this study was to look at it and to say, well, okay, what can we use that extra land for? We have to buy all of it. And the consideration was, well, if zero emission vehicles like hydrogen fuel cell buses, electric buses are kind of the direction, at least a year ago, things seem to be moving, how could this spot potentially be used to help SMTD with that progress as they decide to move forward on it? So this is what we came in to do. The first one was to take a look at the site itself, really look at the data and the demographics, and decide what the operating and capital needs would be for the site to best service both the operation and the community as well. And the next part of it was to look at how might that site be able to transition SMTD to more low or to zero emission vehicles, as it's already well on the way with the low emission side. And then determine, and so part of that study was not just looking at the site, but looking at your system in general. If you're going to move to all battery electric, all hydrogen fuel cell, some combination of your CNG, stuff like that, what would need to be done at the garage itself? What are the capabilities of these technologies on your routes? And how might the site be able to assist in such a process? And there's really 2 things that were really looked into. Number 1 was putting in en route chargers at this transfer site. So there's a battery electric bus, much like a lot of EV vehicles, battery electric buses don't have the range as a traditional diesel bus or CNG bus. So one of the big technologies people are employing is literally a charger that's on the route that comes down, touches the top of the bus, and quickly charges it so it can do another loop and kind of keep going all day long. So that was one option we kind of looked at as part of this. And the second one was hydrogen fuel cell technology itself. These buses operate on hydrogen gas. It's actually very similar to the CNG buses you have today, where it's lighter than air gas. The biggest struggle people have with hydrogen fuel cell buses is actually getting the hydrogen gas itself. Some of you might know that Champaign-Urbana actually operates these buses, and they produce the gas themselves via solar panels they have across the street at the waste facility and electrolyzer that they have in the garage themselves. So with all this extra space at this site, the question was, well, okay, if we put in solar panels, if we put an electrolyzer, what are the opportunities to create our own hydrogen gas to fuel these vehicles? Because right now, biggest thing standing in the way with hydrogen fuel cell bus acceptance is the ability to source the gas itself. So this is one of the things we studied. And then based on all that information, we put together a conceptual design of what this transfer hub might look like, how it might operate, and put together some high-level numbers of what it might cost. So, any questions? All right, let's get into it. So look at some of the data and the demographics. As you know, the Junction Circle transfer point is right there, and it already receives a high number of passenger transfers. But like I said before, it lacks amenities. It's kind of a field in the middle of nowhere. People are waiting for a bus. They're kind of standing on the side of the road, which is never good. It's for safety. It's never good for attracting passengers to the service. And as things grow more and more, you just get more and more people out there. So we still identified that there was a need for the passengers you already have. Digging the data, one of the things we found is that 75% of the Springfield population actually interacts with the route that goes to the center. So as things develop, as things change, it's entirely possible that more people will be coming and transferring the location. But in fact, we've already found that about 39% of passengers already transfer there. So we know as things grow, as things develop, more people are going to be using the site. So it really turned into showing us that this location itself is an important thing to invest in the secondary transfer hub. It's part of it. So with that established, you really thought about, okay, what does this station actually need? How will the buses actually access it? How will the buses stop? How will passengers transfer between buses? How will they know where they need to transfer? How will security be done? What does signing and wayfindage need to be done? What is maintenance needs for this site, particularly when it comes to keeping it clean, or even more, snow removal itself? What are the sort of things that this hub will need? And the customer service and fares. And also we talked about urban design. What does the visibility from the road need to be like? What does the building aesthetic need to look like? How will the center itself interact with local traffic? How will vehicles get in and out? And how will it connect to bike paths and sidewalks? What sort of bike storage options are available? And what are some of the zero emission elements I kind of discussed a couple minutes ago? What do those need to be? So we worked very closely with SMTD staff to kind of answer a lot of these questions. What are the needs for this location? So when we get to the actual designing of it, we're responding to the actual needs instead of just kind of guessing what's best for them. We really thought really deeply in working with staff to understand what that is. But before we get to the design, we really have to think about the actual zero emission needs, low emission needs of the agency. So, and again, I would have put more slides, but I was unsure about how much time I had. So I'll try to explain this as best I can. So as we evaluated what low and no emission technology looks like at SMTD, there's really two things we need to look at. The first is the technology evaluation. As I shared before, a battery electric bus just does not go as far as a diesel or CNG bus will itself. The question is, based on the service that you're operating today, how far can those buses actually get before they either need to be brought home and charged, or a new bus that is fully charged has to be sent out to replace it? And also, the hydrogen fuel cell bus, while they are much like a internal combustion engine bus, like a diesel bus or CNG bus, they also don't have a limited range, but it tends to be much larger, much greater than a battery electric bus itself. So we took a deep look at your routes. We actually had a planner come out here with a little GPS tracker. She rode a number of your buses. And so we could really get down to understand how these vehicles would operate in your service and what the actual mileage you might see out of today's zero emission vehicles. Instead of just using general numbers, we really took the time to understand it a little bit better. And we really looked at three things. What would it take if electric buses only charged overnight at the garage? What would it take if we did put an en route charger at the secondary transfer hub? What would it look like if we just took a lot of your routes as they're blocked today, reblock them? If we could put a bus out in the morning, bring it back in the afternoon to charge, and deploy it back out in the evening, how does that make things more efficient? And we also looked at what a hydrogen fuel cell bus would look like operating on your streets. And what we discovered was the electric buses would dramatically increase the fleet size, which is a bit of what we expected. If you're just going to charge the buses overnight, you would need up to 87 buses, which is about 20 or 30% increase to the bus numbers you have here today, which is significant. And if you wanted to use en route charging, it really wouldn't make all that much of a difference. You'd only need about 5 less buses. But to put an en route charger is a much higher capital cost to install those chargers at the transfer center itself. Charging a bus in the middle of the day tends to be much more expensive. That's when the most demand is coming from the grid, and therefore it can really drive up the cost of those buses. Where if you charge them at night during off-peak times, you can kind of see a lot of the savings people hear about with electric buses. And buses, when they charge, need a significant amount of time to charge, sometimes 10 to 15 minutes. If you don't have that kind of deadhead built into your schedule, you need to rework your schedules, put more of the deadhead in there, which reduces productivity and then increases the demand for more buses all over again. So even with all of those situations, even with the benefits of en route charging, specifically just having it at the transfer hub, we didn't find it to be as effective as other agencies might have. And then we look at the reblock. How can we, if buses have to charge at the base, maybe in the middle of the day, maybe during at night, if we started moving around with the blocks, how we play with it, what would be the benefit? And there was a significant benefit. We actually were able to take about almost 20 buses, 15 buses off the total projected need for a full fleet of electric buses. But that is still a dramatic increase from the buses that you have today. However, we were glad to see that hydrogen fuel cell buses themselves, you could almost do a one-for-one replacement. So for if you wanted to replace a CNG bus or diesel bus with a hydrogen fuel cell bus, you could do that, which you couldn't do with electric bus. The challenge with that is that the costs for gas and fuel makes this the most expensive option, even with all of the capital investments you wouldn't have to make with this, or all buying all the extra buses. Hydrogen is so expensive and challenging that almost the costs make it not a great solution. So with the understanding of how the technology is, the question now turns to how does your facility, even if you want to go with 100% hydrogen buses, even if you want to do some sort of combination of electric buses and hydrogen fuel cell buses, can the O&M facility here handle that? Or will we need to move some of those operation challenges like fueling a hydrogen fuel cell bus off to a secondary transfer hub? And we're really pleased to discover that this garage is actually really well set up for almost any technology you choose to pursue, particularly with the parcels that were purchased by the railroad tracks here. It creates extra space to allow for the chargers you might need for charging electric buses. Unlike the CNG system that you have here today, where the gas is actually pumped right in, hydrogen needs to be stored in tanks. There's actually enough space on the property to store all the hydrogen you would need in tanks with the proper setbacks you would need to safely do it here at the site. So we're really excited to find out that, yes, you wouldn't necessarily need to fuel these vehicles back at the transfer hub itself. You could actually probably do that here today, which is great, because if you had to take every single bus that comes back here to the garage, drive it down to the transfer hub, fuel it, and drive it back, you're putting unnecessarily mileage on the buses, and your service workers are spending more time than normally would to fuel these vehicles. So it's very encouraging to see that the facility could accommodate anything. We also met with City Water, Light, and Power and asked them about how much power is in the area. And particularly with, because we knew how much power we wanted to charge electric vehicles here. They said that this is something that there is capacity in the grid. They would need to make some investments. It's not something they could do tomorrow, but particularly since you wouldn't replace all your buses tomorrow, this would be a process for the next 10 years or so. That's something that they could work with y'all to accommodate to make it happen. They actually said that they're starting to look at EV rates themselves. This is something, they don't have any special rates for EVs, but I know this is a discussion they're starting to have. So particularly if somebody's going to be a large power consumer, like you would be electric buses here, a lot of utilities can work with you and help reduce some of your costs through demand charges and other things that might put on high users of power. So all very positive things that, depending on how SMTD wants to move forward with no emissions technology, your facility could handle it today, which was great. So, and also as part of this, we did coordinate with Champaign-Urbana. We had a conversation with them to take some best practices, some lessons learned, a lot of really good feedback if you want to go this direction. So just a lot of great stuff learned, a lot of stuff that I think SMTD can use as they move forward if it decides to go after zero emission technology. Some good stuff was learned in this process. But that really comes back to the transfer hub. how can we use the transfer hub to support this transition to low emission technology, zero emission technology? So, as I said before, we really found that the en route chargers at this hub would not be beneficial. It wouldn't remove that many buses. It would create more capital needs, more capital costs, and it really wasn't too much of a solution. So then we said, okay, with all this extra space at this hub we need to buy, could we produce hydrogen gas here as well? So not without getting into too much about hydrogen gas and its production and generation, but the point of green hydrogen is to take a renewable energy like solar power and using it to zap water to pull the hydrogen out of water. You might know water is 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen, but using electricity to remove the oxygen out of it, you can create hydrogen gas out of sunlight and water pretty much, which is called, it's a process called electrolysis. It's what Champaign-Urbana uses. But the challenge of doing that is you need a lot of power to do it. It is very power intensive. So what we did is we took a look at the hub and said, okay, we could maximize this entire hub for solar panels. How much power could we get off the grid to support the generation of hydrogen? And as you know, different seasons produces different amounts of power, different amounts of sunlight. And so you see this chart right here, we put it through a process and say, okay, we know how much power can be generated off an entire bank of hydrogen of these solar panels, which actually we couldn't get that much power out of it because we'd have to put a transfer hub there. But we just wanted to see what was kind of the upper maximum possibility of that site. And we came to that, over a month, 330,000 kilowatts of energy could be produced in January, up to over a million in July. But in December, we're down to under 300,000 kilowatts of power. So anytime we're going to create hydrogen, you're not going to get a consistent supply throughout the year, which is fairly important as you're trying to plan your operations around it. We know through our analysis that a full fleet of hydrogen fuel cell buses would require roughly 800 kilograms of hydrogen a day, which is a fairly good amount. And as you can tell through the chart here, even at the biggest month in July, you're only producing about half that hydrogen. So the process to produce hydrogen is very expensive. It's also operationally fraught. If you lose your hydrogen generation, you lose your ability to fuel your vehicles. So there's a lot of operations risk with it, and it is very expensive. So with this situation, you would still need to have a contract with somebody to provide at least some amount of hydrogen fuel to come and support your fleet. So with a lot of the costs with, like I said, this chart here is best case scenario, which we know you're not going to achieve. It didn't make a lot of sense to go through try to get the investment of hydrogen production at the site. It just wasn't the best use of it in general. Again, we also talked to the City Light of Power and asked how much power could be provided over there. It was as much power. And again, it wouldn't be green hydrogen if we're taking power off the grid to produce it. So there really wasn't much of a solution to mix the photovoltaics with city power as well. So ultimately, it was decided that using the spot to create green hydrogen wasn't really the best solution. The best fiscal solution that if SMTD wanted to pursue hydrogen fuel cell buses is to find some sort of contract and a supplier outside of itself. The good news is the DOE about 3 or 4 years ago created what they called hydrogen hubs, where they're creating centralized hydrogen generation at industrial scale, kind of all over the country. And one of those is kind of near Chicago and Indiana. So that won't come into, it's not scheduled to come online until 2029, which, that's right around the corner these days, a couple of years away. So if this is a solution that SMTD wanted to pursue with hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, that was a great opportunity to get in early to have those conversations, to understand what the cost of gas would be, because particularly with all of your work with natural gas and the very similar characteristics to that hydrogen, that would be a really effective way to start transitioning to a zero emission technology. Any questions on that? I know that was a lot with not a lot of visuals for you. Yeah.
I have some questions. I mean, I understand what you're saying about hydrogen, and you raised some good points about that. What did you think that Champaign-Urbana saw in doing that made it feasible for them to do, but you're maybe questioning that for SMTD? How many buses do they have, and what were the deciding hydrogen buses? Sure. What was the deciding factor that they said, yeah, let's go ahead and do this. Let's manufacture hydrogen, and we can make this work.
Well, to quote Carl himself, their GM, he said, well, if we're going to be green, we're going all in. and we're not going to mess with it. Right now, hydrogen, how almost all hydrogen today is created is through using natural gas and using methane to create hydrogen, which is a dirty process, which is not clean. And then there's only so many places that actually create hydrogen. So then they got to stick it on a diesel truck and drive it hundreds of miles. The end place is going to go, kind of polluting the air while you go to get there to put on a bus that can now drive cleanly around, sort of thing. So almost today, any place using hydrogen fuel is probably polluting on the grand scheme of things, from creating the gas to transporting the gas to getting it to the actual vehicle to drive it. It's probably polluting more than they're actually saving the vehicle itself.
But that's not what Champaign-Urbana is doing, right?
Exactly. So Champaign-Urbana said, well, if we're going to do this, we are going to create it on site. We're going to create our own, all of this. And for them, it was most important for them sustainability-wise to do it themselves. And so that's what started them down this path of actually finding solar panels and putting it in. So with their I think right now with their one electrolyzer, they could do something like 12 buses, the total fleet. They chose to go with their articulated buses first because they're the diesel hogs. It's a 60-foot bus sort of thing. And even if they doubled all of that, they're still not doing their entire fleet with it. But for them, despite the cost, despite all of it, it was a priority of the organization to have green hydrogen and to make the investment they do.
And they have a backup contract too? Or?
Nothing they talked about. They didn't because they wanted to kind of be all in. Since then, they made a backup contract. But one of the things is, again, I'm trying to get too technical about it, but the best way to store hydrogen gas is in a liquid form where it cools it down to super cool. You can condenses it quite a bit. To actually have it delivered in a gaseous state, which they only have storage for gaseous state because they're actually creating it, replenishing it with the electrolyzer. It's very expensive. And then it takes a long time to act. And a one truck can only take so much gaseous hydrogen. So you have to do multiple trucks as opposed to something like a liquid storage solution. So they're now looking towards finding some sort of liquid hydrogen storage solution in addition to their gaseous storage solution that they get off their electrolyzer. Because, it's still new technology. It's still very dependent on a lot of things. So
I can imagine that the permitting requirements for this and the zoning, and it's got to be fairly onerous to get through all that, right? I mean, this is new technology, and I mean, are there safety concerns? Are there?
Well, it's certainly new, and there are safety concerns. I mean, some of the challenges with hydrogen gas is one, it's visible and it's odorless. So if there is a release, you actually can't see it or smell it, and it actually burns invisible if it does catch fire. So anytime the gas is inside, it can be problematic. And but it's very similar to how natural gas operates. It's lighter than air gas, it escapes. Natural gas only has an odor because they put an odor in it. Hydrogen's come along, they're figuring out ways to do it. It's a very small molecule, so they can't just use it for natural gas. But the other one's coming along. But it's a lot of the same safety mechanisms, having methane detectors, hydrogen detectors in your garage, calling on air if it does actually sense a release of hydrogen gas or natural gas in the garage. It kind of opens all the doors, kicks all the air fans and gets it out, because once hydrogen or natural gas gets into the open air, it dissipates in seconds. And it is completely inert within a matter of seconds because it's mixed in with all the oxygen that's out there. The real danger is only when it is released inside of a building. That is a challenge. Or like any other gas that you compress, should the tank explode, which is very rare that it does happen, it's a gas under pressure. So it's the same safety situations you'd have with any gas under pressure. But what we found is the biggest challenge in any place introducing this is that the fire marshal has never dealt with it before.
Right.
And they're always nervous, something they don't know, they don't see, they're very nervous about it. So whenever we're working with a fire marshal, it's always, okay, how do we relate it to something that the local code officials understand? And the easy way is natural gas. This is very similar properties, but these are the.
That's why I ask about permitting and.
Sure. I could say Champaign, what they did was they brought the fire marshal in from the day they decided they weren't thinking about it. So they brought in a fire marshal, they sat them down. They brought in industry experts that know a lot about it to kind of keep everybody at ease. And they really had no problems in Champaign. They've had no problems in other places around the country. In fact, the code that actually dictates hydrogen gas safety is called NFPA 2. About 2 years ago, it was released, it was redone and updated, and there were much less onerous requirements on it. the setbacks were reduced. They started accepting things like CMU walls to protect people from stored gas, stuff like that. So I think as an industry, the more that this happens, the more people are understanding it, and the more understanding they are of it, and the safety mechanisms needed to keep it safe. Because, I mean, if you have a diesel bus or a gasoline car and the car catches fire and the gas escapes, what it does is it pools on the ground. And as soon as it catches fire, it's just burning anything that's above it. So if it's underneath the vehicle, you're creating a real problem. With natural gas, like the bus you have today, or hydrogen gas, all of these, the valve is on the roof. So as soon as something happens, something persists, all of it escapes through the roof. And they can discharge everything out of that bus within a minute or two so that it dissipates safely into the air itself. Even if it does catch fire, what you kind of get is like a rooster tail. It just goes up. It's a big flame. It goes up there. It's big. But within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it's gone because the gas is gone. Versus something like a battery electric bus, which once that battery enters thermal runaway, it does not. You cannot put it out until all of the lithium in it is spent out. Which is why whenever an electric bus or an EV car goes up, it goes up for a matter of hours. So,
thank you. One thing: are the Champagne buses? Are they fuel cell buses then? They are. And where are they manufactured?
New Flyer up in Minnesota, Canada. Unfortunately, there's now one manufacturer of fuel cell buses in the country, which is New Flyer. The other one was Eldorado or EMC. They went out of business, but they were purchased and are tooling back up again to create buses. We're not sure if they're going to create hydrogen fuel cell buses. So right now, like a lot of electric buses and frankly, a lot of buses, you kind of get like one or two options. That's about it. So as the industry kind of reconfigures itself and figures out the best way to be productive and financially solid moving forward. Questions on hydrogen? I'll talk hydrogen all day. All right, let's get out of the fun. Let's take the first peek at the transfer center we put together. As you can see, this is just a rendering of the model, but you can tell right here, kind of got West North Street, and then down here, Stanford Ave. Like we said, this is a rather large parcel of land, which you do not need to develop the entire thing. But we have is basically a 12-bus turnaround transfer hub. Where the buses come in right here, park along, or go over to the other side, and all the passengers can transfer covered underneath this awning. Next slide, you see a little better, but we actually have a little building right in the middle of it that's covered. But this spot was thought very intentionally. I know Steve met with city engineers to talk about the location of it as well, as I believe the bike trail is coming down West North Street. So we wanted to put this location much closer to where that is going to be and to be developed. The turning and entering into traffic was decided to be much easier on North Street than Stanford. So even though buses will kind of leave both ways, it was felt better to put it on this part of the parcel itself, and the ease of actually being able to subdivide the parcel if you needed to. I don't think that was part of the sale, but moving forward into the future, might be opportunities to release some of that parcel for other development. But and we cut it, having that extra land is always good for storing things as need be, disposed of buses, things like those kinds. But there's a little parking spot here, mostly for non-revenue vehicles, SMTD owns, that will connect folks to the site itself. But a good little solution. And the report itself, which I believe is in your board packet, has a lot more pictures and photos about it. Again, I thought I was a little more limited time. But as you can see here, this is kind of the view with the overhead canopy taken away. You can see all of the buses lined up. We have a pretty significant waiting areas with shelters to protect people if they have to wait in the cold, the wind, or anything like that. Basically, we only need 8 berths right now, but it's nice to have this extra kind of behind the building for these 4. You could put out-of-service buses over here, any special events that come up. As the service grows, if there's more routes, more things to this area, you're all set up for the future and ready to move things forward. The building itself was really, we spent a lot of time with staff here at SMTD to figure out the best solutions for it. We actually have I would say a rather large bathroom with a lot of toileting opportunities, because when buses come in, they have a couple minutes to lay over and to go out. We want to make sure that operators have not waiting for a bathroom. They can do what they need to do, get back out on their buses, and keep going. There's also a driver waiting area as well down there. So if they need a couple minutes, they do have a couple minutes between shifts. They want to sit down, maybe do some paperwork, opportunities for the computers if they want to fill things like that. good storage locations. Also kind of designed, again, I apologize for not having it, a couple opportunities for future bathrooms, maybe more public facing. I think that wasn't in the first cut of this, but expandability is there. More importantly, we'll also have a lot of storage for maintenance equipment. As you know, a lot of the snow removal needs to be done. It's a lot easier to have actual equipment like salves and maybe a small truck down here to be parked in it so they can quickly clear away the platform, clear away the roads, and make sure that it's safe for passengers to operate. We particularly took a lot of thought. One of the things you've learned from your current transfer center is that the turn, like we have here towards the back, can get easily covered in snow and ice and have buses slip around. So this is kind of designed with intention that you can kind of quickly push the snow at the back and clear it away there to try and do your salting, your ice control to make sure the buses can safely turn around this hub. Again, much more details about this is in the report itself, but just kind of a quick overview. So, which brings us to the cost estimate. So I believe land acquisition was about 1.5 million. I think, hopefully, fingers crossed. To have somebody come in and design it, about 1.2 million. But right now we slated the construction cost about 24 million, which was more than double, I think, some of the thought that SMTD had for the transfer hub itself. And we tagged the operating cost about $300,000 a year. And there's a couple of reasons for the high construction cost estimate. Number one is the threat of tariffs, making it really hard to try and determine what the cost of steel would be, particularly with this giant canopy and things along those lines. We're seeing huge swings in our costs. So we went a little bit higher to make sure that we're not kind of giving you a bad number sort of thing. Also, this is at a conceptual level. It's a little tough to understand what the cost would be once you start getting to more 30, 60% designs. Now it's starting to get a better understanding of what is actually needed by way of concrete, what's actually needed by way of steel, stuff like that. So you're a little more confident to say, okay, we don't need as much. We're really taking big, large swings in this today. If you want to continue down this path, a more detailed design would give you really more opportunities to do more sharper pencil with cost estimate, get much more exacting with our costs. And hopefully a lot of the tariff concerns, things along those lines would be a little more stable, particularly with, again, steel and concrete, this transfer hub would be. It'd be important to make sure those costs are understood. But getting to more detailed designs will actually allow you more opportunities to do some value engineering and saying, okay, well, if we deleted this, if we deleted that, if we only did the back half of this, what does that look like? This provides more opportunities to, think about scaling into the future, building out in the future. What can you install today that will serve your need and maybe able to control some of these construction costs and even operating costs? We did kind of a high level value engineering, went through a couple of different scenarios with SMTD staff about, took off, maybe we shrunk the overhead canopy, if we chopped off the back, what do those costs look like? But the cost estimates, again, because we're taking high level cuts here at the costs, they weren't all that significant or confident. So we decided to move forward with the full vision for the site, what it would look like, and then to move forward with it. So any question, I'll go back to the concept, or any questions on the hub?
Yes. Yeah, I didn't really explain this to the board before this started. You're still in the process of trying to acquire the land, so we don't have it yet. That is in process. So that'll all come before we would move forward.
So like I said, with the port, I think I believe there's a lot to, really justify the need for this hub. And I think it gives SMTD a good vision that if we want to transition to zero emission vehicles, what needs to be done, some of the pros and the cons of each of the different solutions, and just a good understanding of the facility and its abilities itself. And then with the transfer hub too, building on a lot of what you've learned with the current transfer hub and different ways to serve this area and connecting the amenities already there with this concept. So
I'm just, a lot of this is very new to me, and not the report, but some of the detail of what we might do in the future is certainly new to me. And I just want to make sure that as we go along implementing this, that this all goes to a committee for discussion, because I think there's a lot in here that we're not real familiar with. And I think as we go step by step through
Yeah, I think
implementing this,
I agree. That would be important.
we need input from the trustees.
Yeah, any zero emission decision we make would be in front of the board. It'd be a lot of discussion before we decide what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So I used to operate transit agencies, and I bought a electric bus in 2015 was the first one that I bought. And within 5 years, the technology was out of date. I mean, it was you almost couldn't even use that bus anymore. So this stuff changes so quickly, depending on the level of interest and investment on the federal level and on the state level as well. So its development and progress is a discussion that needs to have over a good. It's good that the trustees are interested in it because there's a lot of consequences with it. The good news to SMTD is you all are already investing quite a bit in low emission technology. You know, your CNG buses, which you've had for many years. I shared some of the challenges with hydrogen fuel cell buses, with the sourcing of the hydrogen itself being, kind of dirty as it is today. Again, the Department of Energy is really trying hard with these hydrogen hubs to create green hydrogen and clean hydrogen. But the CNG buses you have today, emit significantly less pollutants than diesel, and you're not shipping in diesel from someplace else. It's being piped directly to you. So while it is a combustion fuel, while it is a fossil fuel, a lot of the things the positive properties that it does have makes it low emissions and very clean and a really great solution. And with your challenge, and starting with your hybrid buses that you're getting about a year ago you got now, I mean, that really starts training your staff on electric drive motors. And so if you do decide to move forward with either hydrogen fuel cell or battery electric buses, what you've done for low emission technology so far is going to serve you really well in the future, depending on how the trustees want to move forward with it and kind of how the technology develops. My personal view, it really doesn't matter if Americans decide, the federal government decides not to invest in battery electric technology. China, Europe, they're all developing this technology. There's going to be, over the next 5 to 10 years, huge leaps and bounds with battery electric vehicles that I think will come back to benefit us regardless. So it's good to keep kind of your hand on the pulse and understand what's going on. So.
Any questions? It's a lot to absorb. Really.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not like my laptop. Getting outdated in 5 years. I mean, there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a nice partnership. It was a great effort, by the way. It was very well done. There was a lot to actually vet and get through the data points. So we appreciate all your efforts. But with that, I thought it gave the trustees and our staff a lot to go on. Some more details on how we navigate this subject. But yeah, very good. Very well done.
It was a pleasure working with your staff. Everybody here at SMTD is great. And like I said, you guys have done really pioneering with low emission technology. If you do decide to move forward zero emission stuff, we're well suited for it. But kind of I think the big thing is the transfer hub as well. I think it's a great solution and that would serve the community and the riders well. You can never lock down that parcel. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Pass that along to the team as well, too. All right. Next item up under new business is a potential contract with Gillig.
Make a motion on this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. I got caught up in the presentation. Yes, we do need a motion here. Thanks, Leslie.
I make a motion to approve the final report for the comprehensive operations plan for second transfer hub and renewable energy source options presented by AECOM.
Second.
Okay, first and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed here? Very good. Thank you for that. Now we can move along to the potential contract with Gillig.
Yeah, so cruising right along with the hybrid green energy theme of this evening, I guess. SMTD was awarded the 2024 5339 low-no emission competitive grant to replace a total of 19 buses. Eight of those are going to be the battery electric hybrids from Gillig. And these would be battery electric. Diesel electric.
It's a battery.
It's a battery. There's a battery in it. Hybrid. We'll just say hybrid. The hybrid vehicles, same ones that we got in with that in spring of 24. And we'd be using the cooperative purchasing agreement through the state of Washington master contract with Gillig for this. We brought that cooperative purchasing agreement to you all in February of this year. And again, same contract that we used for those 24 hybrids. And good news, Gillig has agreed to honor their 2024 pricing, so that saves us 3.75% on this purchase, which doesn't sound like much, but when the buses are $1,061,674 each, it adds up. And due to the uncertainty and like Cole mentioned, the tariffs, and just right now it's a hard time to really nail down pricing and potential change orders, we are asking to incorporate a 25% contingency to be built into this not to exceed price, which would give us $10,616,740 for the purchase of the 8 vehicles.
Okay. Discussion on this matter?
I have a question. What are TDCs?
Transportation
Development credits.
It's like from the state, is it the toll?
They're credits that allow us to use 100% of the federal funds. 'Cause a lot of times in grants, you have to provide local match. So instead of providing like 20% local match, the TDCs allow us to use 100% of the federal funds.
Any additional comments here? Okay. If not, I will look for a motion.
I make a motion to award the contract to Gillig for the purchase of 8 35-foot low floor heavy-duty diesel electric hybrid buses as specified in the WADES Master Contract 06719.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second on this. I would ask for a roll call, please, Stephanie.
Trustee Doss.
Yes.
Trustee Sarah.
Yes.
Trustee McCarthy.
Yes.
Trustee Gasco.
Yes.
Trustee Douglas.
Yes.
Trustee Stratton.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Next item up under our new business is our general property tax levy for FY 2025. Michelle, will you tackle this first?
Yes, so tonight before you we have to put the levy on display. So we'll put it on display tonight. We actually won't adopt it until like the October board meeting. So this is your chance to look at it, review it. That allows the public to review it, to see it, as well as ask any additional questions. I used CPI again. That's what I did last year and the year before that. And you'll see in the board packet that the CPI is set at 2.9. So that's what I have used in the levy.
Okay. It's fairly straightforward as it's an annual activity, but if there's any questions or any follow-up here, I'll ask for any. If there isn't, look for a motion.
I make a motion to prepare the proposed tax levy and to return after the statutory period for adoption consideration.
Second.
Okay, we have first and second. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed to this? Very good. We have approval to move forward and get that on display. Thank you. Last item under new business is we had a mobile lifts contract. Natalie,
Yes.
changes there, so.
So we have the mobile lifts. If you have come to the shop, well, come in the parking lot when the bays are open, it's the big red columns that are in there. And those are used for lifting the buses to do routine maintenance and repairs. We found a contract to purchase the mobile lifts in August of 24, but due to delays in IDOT's review process, that contract expired before the lifts could be purchased. With no other contracts being available, we went out to get a handful of quotes. And without the cost savings of the contracts, the line item has funds for one lift instead of two. So we'll be purchasing, we have a quote for one lift from Automotive Equipment Sales and Services for $55,180.14. The pre-award concurrence packet was submitted to IDOT on August 4th, and it is included in the board packet. And I do just want to note that the purchase of these lifts is pending pre-award concurrence from IDOT.
All right, very good. Any follow-up here?
I just had one question. So there was a delay from IDOT. Is there, I guess you can't answer this question, but how confident are we that there won't be another delay and we'll have the same problem again? Or do we know?
It's not as time sensitive this time since we would be purchasing it directly from the shop. But I will say they've been moving very quickly through concurrences. They've been moving quicker through concurrences.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions, comments? Okay, I'll look for a motion here.
Make a motion to authorize award of contract automotive equipment sales and service for the purchase of one set of mobile column lights for $5,180.15 contingent upon pre-award state concurrence.
Second. I'll second.
Okay, first and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed here? Very good, we have approval to move forward. I think that concludes our new business items. With that, I will go ahead and open it up for any public comments. Tyler, if there's anything out there on the internet, and I know we have some folks here in person for some public comments, so I'll ask if there's any at this time. Good work. See some old familiar faces back there, so nice to see you guys. Anything out there on the internet? No? Okay. All right then, a lot of good things happening. I guess if there's no further business to come before the board, let's look for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Second. First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Well, very good. Great stuff today, folks. Appreciate everybody's efforts, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you.
I have a question.
Champagne next week, next month?
Yeah.
I think I'll see you there.